Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live demo of the Ocean Data Platform. We'll hang around for half a minute or so and let everyone join. While we're waiting, my name is Gustav. If you can help mute. Okay, so my name is Gustav Kegesten. I'm the Science Director of Hub Ocean. And with me today, I've got my colleague, Niklas Larsson, who's our head of product and data. And he will join us and give you a little view of what's next after we've done the live demo. And while we're... okay, so today I will give you a short intro, just who we are. We'll go on to demo the main features of the Ocean Data Platform. You will get a little bit of everything. After we have done that, Niklas will give you a little view of what's next. And then we much appreciate if you stay for a couple of short questions about your needs and what you thought about this webinar. And we will have some rooms for questions as well. And speaking of questions, you're free to put them in the chat the whole meeting. We'll try to address as much as we can here live, and we'll continue addressing them in the chat after. And of course, you're more than welcome to reach out to us by email or any other way, if that's what you prefer. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Hub Ocean, we're a non-profit. We have a mission and a vision, working to change the face of the ocean. We have a keen protect and restore agenda, which also influence how we are using this technology and ensuring that really purposeful, fit-for-purpose data is on the platform. And we also work together with our sister company, Rev Ocean, which have built a fantastic research vessel, one of a kind, that will start hitting the oceans with research missions in 2027. And we are then supporting them with the data backend and some of the intelligence. So the Ocean Data Platform itself, it sits at the heart of what we do. It is a spatial data platform that can host really any kind of data. It is divided in a open catalog, and that catalog we fill with as much useful ocean data as we can think of. And there's also the ability to publish your own data into that catalog. There's also your own place, your own data space where you can share and work with ocean data and collaborate with others. On the other side there, you see that the platform also can serve as a powerful backend. So with the API that you can access all the data through, and the SDK, which helps you talk to the platform, you can power websites and apps, and there's really no end to what you can do with it. And then we also have workspaces. That is a convenient place to do data science work. You can also connect through other work environments, and there's integration with GIS. Anyway, you get to see it in a second. So we're trying to cover all of this today. And for those who have not actually signed up to the platform, it's quite easy to do. You can now quickly click that QR code or just go to Hub Ocean and you'll find your way to the platform, and it's free to sign up and sign in. Okay, so I'll do just that. I just want to mention also this webinar that we're on today is a part of a webinar series we do to get you excited about the platform and show some of the main features. We're also going to do more in-depth webinars on specific features coming up this spring. And we do have data webinars with data providers to talk about specific themes of data that we host on the platform. And you can also see these past events where we've done some of that already here on our events calendar, where you can rewatch these. Okay, so I'm heading over to the platform. When you get in here, there's three main buckets. It's again, the open catalog. We'll go there in a second and have a look inside. There's your My Data space, and there's the workspace that we host. So let's go over, and then, yeah, of course, there are documentations, and you can read more about us on the web page too. So let's go over to the catalog. I will give you a few glimpses of different kinds of data today, since we don't have a specific theme or task. At the very top of the catalog, you actually find one of our favorite data sets by coincidence. It is one that a global data set with protected areas around the planet, and it's produced by Protected Seas. So let's just go in there first and have a look what a data set looks like. So as you expect, there are some of the fundamental metadata about that data. It sits in a collection. We're now in one of the data sets. You can find more documentation about that data. You see the copyright, you see the provider, and so on. There is also, importantly, a key here. So the API key to access that data from where you want to access it. That's a unique ID. And there's also a link to the documentation about OGC features, which is a way to stream the data into your local GIS, for example. Okay, so already here on this first page, there is some information about this data set. We can see that the original file is about almost 800 megabytes. There's 87 columns with attributes with different properties, and there are almost 20,000 rows. So it's not an enormous data set, but it is large enough to provide potentially some challenges. So there is already some pre-baked statistics on each and every attribute. And there's also metadata about every column here, if it's been put in, right? So not all data may have the luxury of having information about the columns, but the ones that we provide, we try to make life as easy as possible for the users. Okay, so now you can explore that here, but we can also go inside the data. So let's do that. When you hit this Explore Table button, you start interacting with the data on the platform. So this can be a great way to start exploring. It currently has a limitation of 1,000 rows in this view, and that means that we limit for very large and complex data sets. We start by pulling in those first 1,000 rows to start exploring the data. And now when you're in this view, you can actually start filtering the data, and that's not limited to those 1,000 rows. It does it on the whole data set. So we can start doing a spatial filter. For example, let's see if Norway, which our office sits in, have done some marine protection. So we can make a little nice box. We could also filter on any of these attributes. So since the statistics is pre-baked, let's see. Let's pick one. Anyway, you can pick any of these attributes and you can filter on them, and that will be included in this. So sorry, I didn't do a very good. I'll show you that filtering function in a second. I didn't find the right column. Apologies. So now we can start looking at that selection around Sweden and Norway, and even look a little bit inside that data if we want. So from here, you can also export this data. You can export as a Parquet, CSV, or a GeoJSON file. And that's nice if you want to bring that selected data to another environment or locally. When you're in that first view I forgot to show you, you can also export the whole data set in the same manner. Okay, and then I just want to show you a last little trick, what's coming next, which is quite nicely displayed in this data. So before we had that limit to 1,000 views, but this is actually already working on the platform, but we're improving the feature a bit still. It's called vector tiles. So this is now showing all of the data, but in a tiled form so that we can display fast, really large data sets, and more detail is apparent when you zoom in. Okay, so let's go back to the catalog. Let's have a look at another kind of way to find data. Let's do a spatial search here in the catalog section. Let's go to the Caribbean, for example, because it feels quite nice and warm compared with cold Norway. So I'm just creating a box and doing the same thing. So now I'm searching the catalog with data that is overlapping that area, and we can add also a thematic search. So let's look for seagrass, perhaps. So now you have a whole list of different seagrass related data sets, and you'll find when you look closer at these that we have some quite neat large global data sets. The two ones that I recognize here is a global data set from WCMC, which has distribution of seagrasses all across the planet. And there's another one from a provider called Alan Coral Atlas, which have benthic habitats, which include seagrasses and corals. So these you find on many places as you filter around the globe, but we can also find some more local data sets. I thought I saw one here. So when it does exist, you could, that was not a great example. Let's go in this one. Yeah, when you go into a local data set, that might provide a whole other level of detail. And again, here there is, this one is from NOAA. It's actually been using the metadata that they provided. And then same thing here, we can start looking at this data set and we can go in and explore that table. I'll show you another little trick that you can do with the data. So again, this data holds a lot of different things about coral reefs. We could go in here and filter on, there's probably seagrasses here somewhere. Let's have a look. Okay, that's the wrong column for seagrasses. Anyway, we can go and filter here, but we can also do something else. We can hit this visualize on map, and actually, this is a very complex data set. But here you actually then can do the first visualization of attributes inside that data. Okay, let's get out of there. Let's go back to the main catalog again. I'll show you another kind of data. So let's say we want to know something about the seabed, maybe the substrate of the seabed for your habitat map or whatever you want to do with it. Then we have a nice global data set with a model of benthic, a model about hard and soft bottom substrates. Now, this data we have actually published in collaboration with a provider called EBCbed. It has data which is not in the tabular format that I showed before, but actually in GeoTIFFs. So for those, you have to go and download them or access the files directly. Actually, this is the problem with the live demo. You get lost a little bit. I picked an old one. Let's see. I can fix that. Here we go. This is the actual collection of that data, and here there are a number of different data sets belonging to that collection. So in this case, the data sits in a file that you can download in the same way, but there's also some supporting information. So you can already here go in and read reports, and you can watch some of the images of this data. For example, here, there's a nice little preview of this data set. Great. Okay, so that's an example of a file. What this data also has, which I think is quite nice, is all of the sample locations behind that model. It at least has all of the metadata about the samples that were used in a spatial format. Okay, so if I actually wanted to view those together, I could also head over to QGIS, and I can download that data, and I can pull in those points with OGC features. It's quite simple. The documentation is on yeah, like I showed before. So here you can see the point locations, and you can see that raster in your local QGIS environment, for example. You can bring in to ArcGIS as well. Great. Okay, one final show I'll do of a data set. I will show you one of the industry data sets that we have on the platform. So HubOcean is working actively to get more data from the private sector into science and make it more useful than getting stuck in private repositories. So I think this is one of the greatest examples we have. This is a huge collection of sonar acoustic data that has been recorded during fishing operations in Antarctica. Okay, so it's from Occupy Marine. Now, this data is actually hosted then by Aker Krill Company. So it doesn't look so interesting at the first glance. It is just a full list of files. There's thousands and thousands of these files here. Each and every file has metadata with it, and we have extracted all of the track lines, so we can put these on the map, and we can read something about the properties of this data. So that you can then programmatically query, and you can use powerful compute environments and process that data and make insights. And that was actually done. It's been done on a couple of occasions. The one I'll show you now is a paper that was published last year, mapping encounters between Antarctic krill fishing vessels and air-breathing krill predators using acoustic data from fishery. So what they did very shortly is they took all of that sonar data, they processed it, and they've found the signature of penguins, fur seals, and whales inside the data, and they extracted those. Now, where does such a data set end up? Well, normally, let's see, yeah, like here you see it was published in the publication itself, and the data ended up in Zenodo, which is a great place to just be able to make data available. I think the challenge for users is that then sits there in a zip file, and the actual predictions were in a R format called RDS, so it's just a native R table with data. So what we then did, we brought that back into the Ocean Data platform. Let me see if I find my way back. And I'll show you what, actually how you can do that. So let's head over to the My Data section. So let's say you found that kind of data, or you produced it and you wanted it either in your private collection, or you wanted to also publish it somewhere. When you go into your My Data, you can choose to work with collections or data sets directly. A collection is just a way to sort of put a box around data sets. And we'll do that first. So let's say we're doing a demo collection for sake of time. did 2 demos today, so we'll call it demo 2. So what we've created is essentially just an admin page, but here you can then add some description about what is this collection about. You can also manage access. You need to have the email address of somebody who's signed up on the platform, and then you could choose if they are admins, editors, or viewers. Okay, so we could put in some information here, but really we want to add a data set. So you hit add new data set, give it a name. Let's call it okay. Okay, so you can put in some tags and some descriptions, whatever you like. So now again, you come to the sort of the admin page of the data set. This one is a bit more involved because the data sets have all of the information that you need in terms of metadata. It means that this is where the license sits, where the citation sits, etc. You know, when you work with data yourself, you don't necessarily need to fill in any of this. But if you want to publish the data, you will want to have at least some of that bare minimum information about license, citations, provider. Okay, and again, I'll show you, you can manage access and you can collaborate on generating this information. It's the same as I showed you before with you have the viewers, the editors, and the admins, but you also have this option to create a public link. And the public link, if I open this up, doesn't put it in the catalog, but it makes it, if you have the direct path to this data set, anybody can access it. Okay, so I'm not going to fill in any of this information now. I will show you what it looks like when we actually upload a data set. So here you can actually upload any kind of file, but when you update, when you upload one that is one that can be read directly by the platform in a tabular form, you can also put it into the table I showed you before. So here I'm uploading a GeoJSON. It could have been a CSV or a Parquet as well. But GeoJSON is nice because it already has the definitions of the spatial configuration of the file. So we're uploading that file. The platform recognizes that it can be ingested as a table. So let's choose to do that. And then it's taking that file, ingesting it, organizing it, indexing it, and doing some nice things so that we can start exploring and working with that data. Let's see. Okay, so I'm skipping ahead a second because I already did this. So this is the same data, but I just updated it with my metadata. And I've also pushed it for publication in the catalog. And so it's now waiting for approval. Anybody can do that. If we go in and, okay, so this is the same thing now. It's here. We can quite nicely have a look at any of these attributes. We can filter on them, or we can choose to visualize something specific. Let's have a look at the tip of Antarctica. I know this place is pretty cool. I apply that filter, and I choose to look at all of the data that was there, and you can see actually the detections of predators, penguins, fur seals, and whales inside that data set where they have been fishing. Okay, great. So that's essentially what I'll show you on the my data side. Let's see if I forgot anything. No, I think that's it. Okay, so we'll move over. We'll go back to here again. So we've seen the catalog. We've seen a bit of the my data section. Let's have a look at the workspaces. So the workspaces is essentially a service we provide so that you have one work environment at your fingertip next to the data. But it's also fine to connect from other workspaces like Google Colab, for example. It's a Jupyter Lab environment, so it's compatible with Python and R. And it also has this nice little GIS project on it. I will show you in a second. All of the documentation, perhaps I'll show you that briefly too. I missed it. So on the documentation side, you can read about the Python SDK, the R SDK, OGC features. There's also a link to our GitHub with lots of example code. Okay, great. So I'll just show you two fun ways to use that without going into details. So I showed you that drill data, the acoustic data. You can actually quite easily connect to that data set, query that spatial information in the metadata, and plot it here on the map. So here you can see all of those different files, and we can look, for example, at the information. Object properties. And nothing works when you do the live demos. Okay, anyway, so here you can actually, if this was for, I don't know what I did. I did something wrong. Let's see. I know what I did wrong. Good. Sometimes you're able to solve things live. And you hit the info button. There we go. Okay, so that's the file metadata. So here we could extract the name of the file and work with it. And that's what I've done here. I converted those raw files to netcdfs, and I'm looking inside that file. And this random one where you see these massive krill swarms. In other ones, you actually see the bubble trails from penguins diving. And of course, the scientists, they were using some powerful compute on our platform, using Dask compute to really crunch through these using machine learning and image recognition techniques. Another thing that you can do, I'll show you another example. Let's see. Okay. So what I'll show you now was something we demoed in a little deeper webinar earlier last fall, where we were bringing together lots of different kind of habitat maps for marine spatial planners. So one problem when you're planning, especially across countries, is that there's lots of different data sets. And we have on the server side a feature that we call aggregations. You can read on it in our documentation. One thing it does is that if I'm here, I'm loading a number of maps, coral reef maps. I put in the ID, I'm loading them just to look at them a bit. But some of them might be really large. I don't actually want to bring them in. And then the object here was, instead of actually loading the original files, I'm aggregating them using H3 tiles. H3 tiles are sort of hexagons that cover the whole globe in sort of standard units. So using those, we were able to run and say, in this standard unit, is there a coral reef in any of these maps or observation data set like OBIS? We created a combined map and turn it into a standard unit. And the nice thing here, let's see, the nice thing here is that this is happening on our server side. So we don't need to pull in those really large and complex data sets. And now we just did that live in the presentation. It went really quite fast. We can zoom in here to northern Madagascar. And now I've created this sort of data set that is quite useful to standardize lots of different kind of data for planning, for example, or protected areas for that matter. Now, we can push that back to Ocean Data Platform. And not only that, we can also ask other collaborators to push more data into the same data set. So we could build a data set together, essentially. And you do not need to have that heavy compute in your local environment. I know that's just a very, very quick glimpse of that. I just wanted to show you a bit of what can be done. And we have done this from Hub Ocean's side. For example, here, this is done on a global level where we've been playing around with this. And here you can see coral reef data set from a few different sources. And we're looking at multi-resolution. Is there a coral reef available in this area? Okay, so that's actually the end of my presentation, and we're gonna zip over to Nicholas, and then we'll do those few questions. Please bear with us, and a little open Q&A in the end. Jag ska se, vänta lite.
Great. Let's see. Here's my camera as well. Great. So Gustav just went through the platform and our application and how it works. And we built this essentially from the ground up. And in the beginning, you had to use the APIs and be having to know how to code. Then we added this visual interface to work with the data catalog and explore the different data to make it available for more scientists out there. Going into this new year, what we're trying to do are essentially two things. One is to bring in even more scientists and stakeholders who are working with the ocean that might not be as fluent in coding. So we want to add better visualization, richer collaboration features, so you can work on the data, but also we're investing quite heavily into a completely new user interface that will make it even easier to work with the data and finding it. The second thing that we're trying to do is to leverage all the power that modern ways of working with data, whether in generative AI and LLMs and agentic workflows. We've had some really successful use cases where users have leveraged, for example, Claude Code or Google Gemini and other vibe coding tools to develop their own very customized application, dashboard, etc., on top of ODP. And it's something that we are very, very excited for. So building on that, we were really doing a couple of things. One is that we are further improving the performance of the tabular and the vector storage that Gustav had been showing also with vector tiles. Can be super performant. And over the year, we'll also introduce raster data storage for large raster data sets, which then will complete together with time series what kind of data you can actually in a powerful way query on the platform. In addition, on the interface, extending the SDKs for scientists so they can do even more powerful type of queries and different workloads, extending that to application developers with JavaScript. But most exciting is maybe to introduce what's called an MCP. So it's a way for AI agents to be able to do queries on the and working on the data. And as I said, on top of that, doing some needed improvements on the usability on the data catalog and our application up top. So we're really looking forward to an exciting year with many new features, and a lot of this is based on feedback from our user groups. So we welcome all of your input and questions and recommendations because that actually steers in the development of our product roadmap. Yes, thank you. Then I'll turn off my mic.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicholas, and thank you everyone for bearing with us through this demo today. So what we'll do next, we will just do a couple of poll questions. We really appreciate if you stay for them. It'll be over in a couple of minutes, and then we keep answering questions in the chat, and we'll vocalize some of them in the little time we got left. So, okay, so I'll start the first one. It's just a temperature check. So if you can just describe your experience of this webinar in a couple of words, and we will turn it into a little word cloud. All of your answers are anonymous, so for all of these questions. Give it a few seconds. The polls stay up for the whole meeting in case you think of something that in a couple of minutes or later during the questions. Okay, I will. There's some. Yeah, a couple of nice words. We thank you for those. Informative, interesting, impressive. Okay, so the next one. It's a multi-select. If I've pressed the right settings. So which part of the webinar are most relevant to you? And you can think a little bit about how you see your needs for the platform as well. So is it the ocean data catalog with the data it holds and the way it serves it? Being able to find, explore, filter, and export data from that public catalog? Is it the My Data session? Yeah. Anyway, the My Data piece where you can do the same thing with your own data and with collaborators to upload, manage, and collaborate on private data and publish it if you wish so. Data analysis using the workspaces with Python or R. Connecting to the data from ODP and your local JS, and by the end, just interest in the product roadmap and where we're heading. Okay, and those polls should be available for everyone to see, but in the interest of time, I guess we can hit the view result. All right, maybe just a comment on that. Many of you are, I think the majority are very much interested in the catalog itself, but then some interest in the other features too. Okay, I'm launching the 3 out of 4 questions. So if you can describe in a few words a challenge that you have where the Ocean Data Platform could be helpful. I mean, this could be something as simple as find data or share data. But if you have more detail, you can put that in a sentence as well. Of course, if you really have something that you want us to look at, you can put it in the chat, and you can send us emails as well if you have a problem that you're want some advice if the platform is a good fit for solving. See some responses coming in. Data interaction with R. I like the interaction with R. I'm myself an R coder. Nicholas is a Python coder, so thank you for that, whoever put that in. Okay, I'm moving on to the next question. Please, yeah, you can keep putting in those responses if you think of this question, and if you don't come up with an answer just now. Okay, so I'm launching the last question, so we can go over to the Q&A. So the next question is, what kind of support or training would help you most to continue using ODP? So we're already having plans on a sort of diving deeper series, essentially dissecting some of these features you got a glimpse of today in a webinar, like diving into the Python SDK, the R SDK, etc. data management. So stay tuned for that. Are you interested in more handheld training sessions or even courses with webinars coupled with exercises where we help you sort of activate and learn more how to use the platform? Or are you happy with online supports, chats, etc.? Documentation and example, or you're just really find your own way by testing and exploring on a hopefully intuitive platform. Again, multi-select, so one or any of them. And I'll have a look at those results. Yeah, it seems to be a bit of a mixed bag how people are learning. It's good to see. Okay, I think we're done with the questions. So to you, let's have a look at what questions you have to us. It's free to raise your hand and voice a question if you like to do so. You can put them in the chat, and if we don't have time to answer, we'll keep answering after this demo is done. Nicholas, you've been keeping an eye on the questions. Did you see something specific you
Good question.
think we should lift?
Querying geospatially, directing to the files versus when it's ingested into tabular and more structured format. And that's one of the powers, of course, is to have it there. But many data sets have it, in the metadata when you're looking for files, for example. So I think it was Aker Marine, the krill data. I mean, I don't know how many files there are. There are many files. So
there's thousands and thousands of them.
Thousands and thousands. So their geospatial search would be very useful for finding the right files. But within those files, it would be you would then start working with the file in order to do the query, looking into the data. But if those data was in a tabular format, in a structured way, we would of course be able to query it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's actually quite fast to just query the file metadata and put it all together.
Yeah,
it does have almost 15 years of fishing operations from 2011. We're working on the last season this year. Yeah,
I think it was also an interesting comment there on how to separate between, let's call it global and local data sets, although it's not a very binary. What's the difference? And some of the data sets, especially the ones that we control ourselves, we can add tags to that to indicate if they're global or not. But however, since a lot of the usage of the platform is for other users ingesting data, where we are one among many, I guess, then we don't control what kind of tags they put in. However, I thought as I wrote it, maybe we should do a drive for try to classify them at least, working with others to do that.
I'll comment on a couple I see here too. Again, if you want your question to be raised, then please raise your hand and voice it. Otherwise, we'll pick a couple of random ones. So I saw one from Ian Caldwell. Can you filter to find all global data sets available? So filter out like the little small ones. It's a good question. But I would actually say not currently the way we have set it up. So if there's an overlap when you're in the catalog interface, it will list that data. But I have also thought about this problem. It would actually be quite nice to have a waiting to have really those with a big cover or a way to like filter on the spatial extent of a data set. So I'll take that as an idea for some improvements or a feature. I see another one from Tracy Dornan. If the data is not tabulated, can we still select by location?
That's the one I tried to answer.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it was specifically around Aker Marine. But
okay,
but generally speaking, if they're still in their files, the actual data you can't, but the metadata.
Yeah. So I was going to say, you can just click a box when you create your data set and manually put the spatial extent in. Sorry. Yeah, please voice.
Ian has raised his hand. Ian, would you like
Ian.
to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you. Ian Caldwell, I'm from Data Mermaid. Just wanted to, is it possible to add data sets that are adjacent to ocean areas, but actually on land?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's no limitation really from any spatial data, to be honest, on the platform. It is just that when we, build the catalog, we think about the ocean use cases. So, I mean, I think it's a very good question in terms of land to sea work and so on. And in fact, you find some data already, which is in the coastal or near coastal on there too. So yeah, there's no limitation.
Yeah, because I think one of the data flows for our users is they're putting especially like social data sets into Kobo Toolbox. And I was trying to think if it makes sense for them to move it into ODP, because really they want to know, how does, for instance, fishing activity for a local community affect the fish populations in the nearby cell. So I was thinking the workflow could be bringing it in and then figuring out what's the closest cell and then what data is there to compare it to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very much welcome. I think it's also very important to have a good connection between land and sea, and that specific interface, especially, of course, is critical for millions and millions of people. So yeah.
Great, thanks.
Any last question before we close this?
I think there was just a last one here on when it comes to interoperability. We intend both to be interoperable with other data platforms. So we today we have a stack endpoint for our data catalog, but also when it comes to the actual data sets, many of our customer users want to ingest into ODP, but then also to get it extended into other platforms. So we really want to be one but important part of an ecosystem here, if that makes sense.
Great. Thank you, Nicholas, for those last words. I see there's no more raised hands. I want you to enjoy your morning or evening or wherever you are. So thank you very much for tuning in. There'll be a recording available of this one and the very similar one we held this morning to accommodate time zones. And you can always keep a little eye on our social media channels as well as our webinar event page. But for substantial webinars about the platform, I think you will hear from us. Thank you very much, and have a great day.